This house costs 1 crore to buy today, but I could rent it for just 30,000 a month. So how do I decide between the two?
This Excel sheet has the exact plan you need to figure out your rent versus EMI debate. So first we're going to understand the economics of buying a house. Then we'll move to rent and what it means to rent for the next decade or 2 decades. Then compare which one was actually more profitable. Let's assume it's a 1 crore house. The down payment is 20 lakh rupees. This is what you are paying from your pocket to buy this house. The loan amount is obviously 80 lakh rupees. Remember, everything you see in yellow is editable. So this will be different for you. But let's understand with this example first. The loan interest is 9%. The loan tenure is 20 years. So your loan for 80 lakh rupees is going to last for 20 years. This brings us to our EMI of 72,364 rupees. So what does your house cost? All your friends will say your house cost is the loan 80 lakhs plus 20 lakhs that you put in 1 crore rupees, and that's the value of your house. In the future when it becomes 2 crores they'll say bhai mera ghar to double ho gaya. But this is wrong. Here's how you actually calculate what the house's cost is. First is the cost, 1 crore. Then you add on top of this all the interest that you paid to the bank, because that is also a cost. You're paying over 20 years and that's also compounding. Not for you, for the bank. So if you add that, your total cost becomes 1.73 crores that you're repaying to the bank. Add the 20 lakhs and it's increased a bit more. But that's not all. You also have associated owner-related expenses. When you own a home, you will spend on things an owner spends on, which means you'll spend on annual property tax. This is about 50,000 rupees for this property and it increases by about 5% every year. You add that up for 20 years, then you have society maintenance. This is 50,000 rupees and increases about 5% a year. This becomes 16.5 lakhs over the next 20 years. Then you have house maintenance. Nalka tood gaya, ye tood gaya, wo ho gaya. You will constantly have to maintain the house. So that's about, let's say, 10,000 rupees per year. I'm taking a really low amount, by the way, and putting 5% increment on it. It's about 3.5 lakh rupees. I do think though, people can spend a much large amount on their house because it's their house. It's the most emotional thing they'll ever buy. And they will spend whatever they can to make their house a home. But since it's an Excel sheet, let's take a small amount. When you add all these 3 things up, total cost of the house is 2.30 crores. I want you to pause here and think about this. The house isn't yours until you've repaid the entire house loan. But the beauty of owning a home is that it's not like a car or a dining table or whatever, a pair of sneakers which wears out. It goes up in value. So the value of this house has gone up to an incredible amount and we'll calculate that and we have a net gain. But we'll have to compare this with the renter. First, let's see how much rent you've paid. Remember, 30,000 rupees every month at a 10% yearly increase for 20 years. I know that's a lot of numbers. That's why we have an Excel sheet. So look at this column over here, column C. You can see 30,000. And then suddenly in year 2, it becomes 33,000 because plus 10%. Then I go to year 3, it becomes 36,000. So on and so forth, all the way down. It keeps going up. And you're eventually paying almost 1.8 lakh rupees in rent. And when I add all this rent up, it becomes 2.04 crore rupees. Wow. So maybe your mom and dad were right. You're paying so much of rent, you might as well buy a house. You paid 2 crores in just rent over the last 20 years. But there's one more aspect over here. We also have an SIP. And the SIP was calculated on this person's EMI minus this person's rent, whatever is the differential, so that both of them are having the same outflow of a certain amount. In this case, it's 42,000 rupees. So 42,364, as you can see, every single month you have invested. In year 2, that 42,000 has become 39,000. You know why? Because the rent has increased. So the SIP has reduced because the outflow has to be the same. This has to be a fair comparison. Then let's go to year 3. The SIP has reduced even more. In year 4, even more. So you see, every year the SIP is not increasing, which it should. It's actually decreasing because we want to make a fair comparison between buying and renting the place. And by say month 120, the SIP becomes zero. Month 121 actually becomes completely zero. The rent he's paying is equal to this person's EMI. So now nothing's happening. So he's only invested for 120 months. Anyway, this amount, this SIP, grows over the next 20 years, and that value of your future SIP investments is 1.57 crores. Not bad. We can also see that there was an original lump sum. Remember the 18 something lakhs we invested in the first year? That has now become 1.26 crore rupees. So the net gain from renting is 79 lakh 36,000, provided he invests that differential amount over the next 20 years. Wow. If rent made so much money, I can't wait to see how much the capital appreciation happened on an owned house. We can see we have years and we have EMI. The EMI is 72,000 rupees. Comparable, both are spending the same amount. One is investing in the house. Most of your EMI when you pay to buy a house goes towards the interest of the bank, not in equity of your home. So just look at this. 83%, 80%, 80%, 79%. For many, many years, up till year 5, every single payment that you're making, up to 75%, even in year 5, is going towards interest payment. It's only about 12 years and 7 months, where it becomes 50% interest, 50% principal. In other words, in the first 10 years, most of the money went so that the lender could profit, not that you could own the home. So the question is, do you really own the home even after 10 years of EMI? So the value of the house over 20 years compounds and grows to a grand total of 2.32 crores. The net gain is 2 lakh rupees. This means clearly in this situation, the rent person actually made more money. All of these yellow boxes will change, so your answer will be slightly different in most cases. Unless you're putting a really large down payment or you're not investing this money, the numbers will roughly always have the renter to win. So when you were 10 years old, the best part of your day was going out, playing with your friends until you got tired, and then you played a little more, and then it became 12 o'clock. Mom said, "Andar aao, bahar dhoop hai," and you continued to play. And you played some more, then you played some hide and seek, then you laughed, looked up at the sky until it was evening, and you came back home tired. Mom gave you food, and you slept. Then in class 10 and 11 and 12, you had to follow a schedule. You had to get up on time, do revision, go to the school, do test prep, study a little more. You could not go out the entire day and study, and your life became restricted to that one thing, which was your board exam. Class 12 is like taking a home loan. You are no longer free like you were when you were 10 years old, where you could just go out into the sun and play the entire day without any worry. But in class 12, you were compartmentalized into a schedule, and you were now sort of working for this other version of yourself, which had to get 99% or whatnot in class 12. If you take a really large loan, then you'll be forced to be in class 12 forever, preparing for your boards forever, go to work forever to pay that EMI. You can't take a break, because if you do, you won't be able to own that house that you're trying to pay for. You must optimize for freedom and experiences, and no one should force you to do anything. You must have options. Maybe that's what freedom is for adults. And YouTube is full of all these videos talking about 5% rule and 8.75% rule, proving one of the two. Your job is not to look at a rule and make a decision. Your job is to understand this Excel sheet deeply, because a rule can't actually tell you what to do with your life. So that's why we talked about the 420 rule. Everyone wants to have a formula. There's no such thing. Ye 400 BC hai. We did this to trick you so that you feel that there's a formula, but actually there's none. I want you to fill this up, read it, understand it, shut down your laptop, then sleep, get up the next morning, and your heart will tell you whether you should buy or whether you should rent. 14th March, you can experience all of this. So head onto the app, complete the missions and earn your free pass.